Are you ready to build wealth without burning out? In this episode, we dive into the secrets of buying done for you, DFY, businesses that generate $10,000 a month with just 1 hour of your time per week. My guest, Pells, shares her proven system for securing up to $250,000 in business funding within 30 days.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
So, Anne, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm happy to have you here today, too. And I'm sure people just listening to that intro is like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem like it's possible. So I'd love for you just to even start with the first question that people are probably asking. How can someone get up to $250,000 in funding in just 30 days, even if they're new in business?
That was actually a very easy solution. I think sometimes we think things have to be really hard and take a long time. And that actually was just one phone call with a funding team that specializes in that. They've done it for thousands of people. And we have that connection on our website, lifegiverlegacy.com. People want to connect with them and just, they held our hand all the way through. And some people will want more than $250,000. So there are other ways to do that too. A lot of ways to buy businesses with nothing down. And as you said, having a done for you service that helps people have the income without having to have all the different hats that they might sometimes think business owners need to have, which was important for me because I've already done lots of different businesses where I was in charge of everything, and it's a lot to handle. So I think that would be my opening comment is what we don't know that we don't know sometimes is a lot easier than we think it is. And we just need to give ourselves a permission slip to like feel vulnerable and ask questions and maybe even be able to look stupid for a minute because we don't know the answers, but we want to know. So we're willing to find out.
Right. So you mentioned like a specific lender that does this because I know a lot of people are thinking, well, when we go to a bank, they're going to want profit and loss and balance sheet and this many years of history for tax returns and all of the things. And so funding can be difficult sometimes to get. And so what is it that you then had to provide to be able to get that type of information to them for them to verify, yes, we trust that she's actually going to be someone we can invest in and we'll get paid back?
For the $250,000, that literally was just our LLC paperwork and how long we'd been in business, a little bit about the current revenues, just stated income. So we always tell the truth, but we didn't really have to provide documentation for that in the sense that you're talking about, where you might have to with a more traditional lender. So that was mostly just giving them our business paperwork that we filed with the state that we live in. So,
And so I also mentioned, like I said, having a business that's pretty much done for you and generating $10,000 a month, in revenue. So if someone is looking for this type of opportunity, really, what should they be considering when they're going to choose the type of investment that they are going to want to purchase?
Right. That's an excellent question. And I have a recipe. It has about 5 parts to it. If people can email me, Anna at lifegiverlegacy.com. I'll highlight them here. And if they have more questions, that's fine too, to follow up. But we want to look for companies in industries that are pretty stable. They've made it through COVID just fine. They made it through 2008 just fine. They'll be in home services, maybe plumbing, electrical, things that people will need to help their home and their family, even if the economy is doing what it's doing and being really interesting at one point or another, right? You just want something that's very stable in the way they operate. And for me, that means let's look at their marketing processes. How do they find new customers? How do they keep current customers? Let's look at the sales, what's been happening well, what's not happening well. Let's look at how they fulfill on what they just promised they would be doing as a company. If they're saying they're going to come fix your toilet, they need to come do that, right? So those are some of the things we look for. And then we want a 25% profit margin. That makes it really favorable, gives us some room to grow the company, help make that marketing and sales a little bit easier if the company is already doing really well. And one thing I do like about buying existing businesses like that is that you get a chance to see all of their financials. You don't have to guess and wonder if people are actually going to want to become customers or stay as a customer. You'll already be able to see a lot of that just in their current records that they've been keeping about what's happening. So that's helpful, right? Like not have to reinvent the wheel and just already know what's already been happening.
So these businesses are those who've been operating for a while. Maybe the owner is wanting to retire or sell for whatever reason. And so they now are just going to sell a business that is already running without them. And then they, the new investor is just putting the money in and really not doing as much.
Yes, and sometimes the owner will have been very involved. Like I'll use my grandparents as an example. They had a radio and TV shop, and they had 8 or 9 trucks and different employees and things. And Grandpa was one of those. He loved doing that, and his health changed, and he sold it. But he also helped train the new owner to do that part. So you can choose businesses that are basically running absentee owner or semi-absentee, an hour a week or something. And you can have a management team help you with those parts. Like I know about marketing, but I'm not really strong in it. So one of my favorite business books, if people are looking into this, was called Who Not How. And that just gave me confidence to look for someone who's really good at things that I'm not as strong in and let them help me. Like I don't have to feel like it has to be all on me. And that was the secret, is finding a team of people that could create that done for me, done for you service, and be willing to, again, be vulnerable and just be like, you know what, this isn't my really strong part. I can help a lot with these things, but I would really like it if you guys would help with the other part. And that has been very helpful.
Well, earlier you were talking about having at least 25% profit margin, and so if you're looking at buying a business that has that, but the owner has been involved significantly, too, like how do you know how much really was revenue? Because maybe the owner wasn't really paying themselves properly. They should have paid, a going rate that they would have had to pay someone else too. So how does someone who's coming in and looking at the numbers really know that that's really a 25% margin versus, well, the owner just really didn't get paid. And so when you pay someone else to do that, now you're kind of in a tighter spot.
Yeah, that's valid. In fact, sometimes I'll pass on, when I'm looking for companies to buy, I'll pass on some of those for that reason. But it's important to have a second pair of eyeballs, my own, and then the management team that's going to be managing. That's part of their job in the Done For You service, is to look through all of that and make sure that the owner actually was paying themselves well, or what would it cost us to replace what the owner's been doing. And then we're going to evaluate and make sure we still have that profit margin that we need, that it makes sense for the owner and for us, and for, we just want everyone to win. Anytime you're doing anything with anybody financially, or even in relationships or your health, you just want it to be a win-win, that everybody feels great about what happened, and we're moving forward in a good direction, so.
I remember years ago, I had gone to a conference and was listening to a presentation, and someone was talking about, it was more just for you choosing what type of business you would want to start. It wasn't necessarily looking for one that's already operating. But he was talking about, don't buy the hottest trend, right? Because you might think it's great right now, but how long is it really going to last? Versus, like you said, some things that are going to be needed long term. People are always going to want to have electricity and running water and, things like that too. So do you want to touch on that too? Like, well, why wouldn't we want to get into a trend that is hot right now?
Sure, that's valid. I appreciate you bringing that up. Um, I think that coming back to the point of what we don't know that we don't know, if it is a new trend and something that hasn't been tried and tested for years, like you said, in water and electricity and basic services, still some great opportunities. AI is a big thing right now that I'm sure is not going to go away. But there are so many different components of AI and technology. And we just so in fact, often lenders do the same thing when you're looking for financing for businesses. They want to see that there's at least a 3-year track record of something, that it didn't just land in 2025 or 2022 and then it was gone by the next year, because they're protecting their investment too. They're going to provide some of the funding for it. So a good at least 3 years of track history. And that might narrow out some of the things that you're really super excited about, but it doesn't mean you can't look into that with maybe not even purchasing a business, but maybe just being a little tiny part of it and being a small partner in there, try things, but not with your bread and butter money that's, helping to pay the bills for the family and stuff. That would be my own personal. Everyone will have a little bit different risk tolerance and things, but that's what I would do for things that are great and they're brand new and we're trying things. That's awesome. Let's do it. But let's not do it with like our bread and butter money. That's going to make sure that the family is still functioning and we're all good.
Right. Don't spend or don't risk money you don't want to lose, right? It may pay off in the long run.
Isn't tested. Yeah, for something that's not tested yet. Yeah.
But what is your opinion on purchasing a franchise versus, just a independently owned business in terms of looking for that opportunity, a done for you type business?
Sure. I really like franchises. Again, it pays to have another person, a second pair of eyeballs, to look at all of those franchise documents too. And the same thing that you've mentioned here, brand new franchises that haven't been operating very long will be very different than something that's been around for 20 years, 15 years, and they're growing well and things are operating the way they're supposed to. And of course, the price tag is different too. But one special thing that I've learned is you can partner. It doesn't have to be you don't have to be the only one to put funding in. It doesn't all have to be your money and time. You might know a friend, a family member, someone that once you've all done your due diligence and decided that this is a good opportunity for both of you, or we've seen companies that my husband and I have partnered in that have 10 different partners, for example. It doesn't have to be just you doing it. It can be, to share the opportunity with other people as well. Partners are magic. They're great.
Well, of course, too, especially if you're purchasing an established business, SBA loans are potentially an option as well, too. If you don't have the funding and you don't necessarily want to have a partner, maybe you can get, a loan and help, in that realm, too.
That's right.
I know, too, in the introduction, we talked about paying off a home in 5 to 7 years as well. And someone is probably thinking, I don't know how that's even possible. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. 5 years ago, what I didn't know that I didn't know. We've moved quite a bit in our last 30 years since I got married, and that wasn't in our plan. But boy, the mortgages do not pay down. If you move every so often, by the time the equity doesn't change much. And so we were looking online and we found a company that specializes in that. It's a special type of line of credit that you can use to help your home pay itself off faster, pay less interest. And they have a free calculator, a lot of free information. And I was astounded. I think our most expensive thing that all of us pay for is what we don't know that we don't know. And that made all the difference. Our house payment went from $2,000 a month to $400 a month. And we were able to pay off half the mortgage in 2 years, even without changing our income or expenses or anything, just by having them teach us. And again, being vulnerable
Mhm.
and being like, wow, I have never heard of this before. Oh my gosh, are you sure that that's real?
Mhm.
And it was, and they could show us on the calculator in 3 different ways how what we wanted to have happen would happen. We could use that money over and over again to purchase businesses or to purchase real estate or other cash flowing assets. Where I thought that I'd have to be stuck in a 30-year or even a 15-year or all the different kinds of mortgages that are more typically explained to people. This one wasn't that. And it made all the difference. Still is. For a couple of years into paying the house that way, we realized that we wouldn't need to work for another 5 years if we didn't want to, because it would keep paying for itself. And I just had never had anyone teach me that before. So I'm pretty passionate about that as an option for people to, again, give yourself the permission slip to just be like, show me,
Right.
prove it. Show me on the calculator how that can be helpful to me with my current income and expenses and where our family's at. So
Mhm.
I'm really grateful. That was a miracle and a blessing for us,
Nice.
and we've tried to make
Well,
it available.
especially the
Hmm.
amount of interest that you have to pay, right? Because usually
Right.
you're paying so much interest up front, and then, like you
That's
said, if
right.
you have a 30-year loan, you're paying a
Yeah,
significant amount more for your home purchase because of all the interest that you pay too. So I'm
true.
sure that is probably intriguing to people who are listening too, and they'll probably want more information on that too. Um, but I wanted to just go back to the 1 hour of work per week that you're talking about
True.
buying this done for you business. Even if you're
Mhm.
buying where there's all the staff that are already there and things are already running smoothly, it doesn't seem that 1 hour is enough to really manage the company. So I'd love for you to touch on that. Like, how is that possible? And, what can they do to make sure that they don't have to step in more than just that one
Yeah.
hour?
Yeah. The key for that for me was hiring that professional management team. And they share some of our profits. So they're incentivized after all the expenses are paid, we paid them just like you would for property management on a rental. You're paying
Mhm.
them to take care of things during the week and just give me an update, a 1 hour meeting like this on Zoom or Google Meet to tell me what's been happening with the company that week. Did we go ahead and hire that new person? How is the marketing going? How are the sales? Is it going the way that we're hoping? What tweaks and adjustments do we need? And so I feel like I get a really broad overview of everything, and then we can communicate via email and other methods in between those meetings. But most of the time, everything is covered in that 1 hour meeting with the management team. So it really isn't reliant on my personal skills and expertise and experience as a business owner, as much as it is just having that conversation with the team that's already on the
Mhm.
ground managing everything. And that is particularly helpful right at the beginning of the acquisition process while we're trying to help the owner go into his retirement plan and still feel like that company they've spent years building is going to keep going well and
Mhm.
doing the service that it's supposed to be doing for people. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, one of the things I'm actually teaching in my own business, and I implemented in my own company, and now I just have a passion to help others because too many entrepreneurs spend way too many hours in their business, and then they're the bottleneck, and it's owner dependent, and they can't take a vacation, or it's not easy to sell, honestly, because they're so involved in it. And so
Yes.
even you're talking about, well, you're bringing in someone else to manage it. That's exactly what this whole concept is about too, whether you have employees really who are doing it for you, or in the case that you talked about, having, a management company come in and do it. That's how you are not tied down to the business, right? And
That's right.
so I think a lot of people never thought of that concept. Like, what do you mean I
Mhm.
can hire a professional company to manage it for me? I don't have to hire all the employees, And so how
Right.
would they
Right.
find someone to do that too? Like, that's not something we hear about a lot. So how would they
No.
find a company that would manage another company for them?
There are several that will help you to purchase those companies, and then one that we've put on our website in particular that does help us to manage them. So they can go to the lifegiverlegacy.com to find out more about that company or email me. There are different ways to handpick your own management team too. You don't have to use the one that we do. It's just a process, I think, of finding people who already, like you're doing, finding people who already know what you need to have done and that they already have a proven track record of doing it. If they have a lot of experience in tech companies and the kinds of companies that you're interested in purchasing, that's a really good opportunity to let them keep doing what they love to do and still give you your life back. Whether I've seen people do that. They own a company and they want to step back from the day-to-day management of it and still keep the company, not sell it necessarily, but just have help getting all those moving parts done, like you said, which is a beautiful thing that you've already kind of captured. I think, again, it's that what we don't know that we don't know. Like, gosh, I read a really neat story and it reminds me of this. He said that there was a 1-ton bale of hay that fell on him in a farming accident, which was very hard. But he said, I knew if I could just teach them to cut the string, all the hay would fall off and everything that became very overwhelming and burdensome would be fine. But no one around me knew how to just cut the string to let the hay fall apart. And so that weight was on him for a while they were trying to rescue him. And sometimes I think it's like that with businesses too, and other things that we're trying to do. If we rely completely on just what we know, it's going to take us a long time to get all those all the moving parts and everything organized the way we need to. But if we're looking for the people that already have done what we're looking for, in a simple example, if you're buying a lemonade stand and you know someone that's already run lemonade stands very successfully, then it might help to, ask them for help to figure out what you don't know so you can hit the ground running and not have to have that learning curve that they did, right? So, yeah.
Well, and I think that's why sometimes people are afraid to even get into business because they're like, well, I don't understand finance or I'm not good at all of these things. And again, we talk about entrepreneurs usually wear all these hats having to do HR and marketing and, sales and all of the things. And so now you're talking about they don't have to do all of these things and have all the financial experience or all the other type of experience, that you would think you have to have. So I think just from the conversation we've had in the short period of time, I think what you're talking about would be very intriguing and exciting for people who maybe want to be a business owner, but not have to do all the things.
That's true. Mostly for me, it's actually not really about owning the business. It's actually about creating that passive income and the cash flow. People will do that with real estate or other ways of having monthly income coming in. For me, the passion for that started when our kids were very little and my husband's job was gone all of a sudden. Little pink slip of paper that we went, oh, that's our only way to earn income right now, and it's gone. And so I really like to speed people up and not make them feel like it's going to take 20 years to learn this on my own. It isn't. What if there were already people in place that knew how to do that? For me, I'm really passionate about that. For my children now, they don't have to wait till they're 50 years old like we did to find those teams and people that can help them get their house taken care of and get the businesses taken care of. Sometimes I think we're our own worst enemy. We just tell ourselves we can't do it. I don't know how. I don't know. I can't do it. And instead, I think my grandpa, when I was 15, I was telling him that. And we're sitting on the couch together and Grandpa said, and every time, can't isn't even in my dictionary. I'm like, yes, it's between B and D. It starts with C. It's right here. He's like, no, can't is not in my dictionary, because if I really want something that will help the people that I love, I ask myself a question instead. And I say, how can I figure out that health journey? How can I figure out that financial thing that I want? How can I figure out how to have a better relationship with that person. And just being willing to ask questions, I think, gives us access to what we don't know that we don't know, and a
Mhm.
way to like have a little perspective shift, and
Mhm.
not be in the, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And
Well,
it,
what I'm thinking as you're talking about all these things today too is like there are multiple ways to get your financial kind of house in order almost too, right? Like paying off the house quicker,
yeah,
having this extra income flowing into you, even if you don't have to invest a whole lot of time because it's passive income, and so the different opportunities that are out there. So to me, it just makes me think like take the time to see what is really available and maybe starting with this episode and taking the tips that are in here, but there are things that, like you said, we don't know what we don't know.
yeah,
And hearing this information, I think the listener is going to be really excited about the opportunities that are potentially there for them to pursue.
wonderful. I hope it will help someone.
Mm. Well, I do know we're coming close to the end of time we have today to talk. And so I wanted to ask if you have an offer that you would like to extend to our listeners. And if people are listening now and thinking there's so much fabulous information you've been sharing and they want more, how can they contact you?
I'm Anne at lifegiverlegacy.com. And there's a free ebook there, a lot of free tools. Mostly, we just wanted to open up the toolbox for people. And because I would have loved to have found out how to pay the house off faster on my first house instead of the 15th one that we'd lived in. um,
Mhm.
so I think anything that we can learn from each other and help with, that speeds people up and feels faster and safer at the same time, that's a blessing, and has a big impact on
Mhm.
just to even have an idea about it, even if they don't pursue it, that they at least have the knowledge and are like, oh, that is a good recipe for a business. That's a good recipe for
Mhm.
an investment in general. Anything that we're looking at pursuing, let's find those clues and the little breadcrumbs that we need so we get the result that we're aiming for without having to feel like we've had to move a whole mountain all by ourselves. Like
Mhm.
I think that would be my biggest advice. Don't try to do it by yourself. Find out what other people are doing that's working, and then follow that same pattern. So many good resources available to all of us now with the internet and AI and all those amazing things,
Mhm.
that we would have had to spend years finding in generations past behind us. So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Anne, for being a guest on my show and talking about this, just to educate the listener on opportunities that are out there. So I enjoyed our discussion.
Oh, I enjoyed it too. Thank you for giving me an opportunity today.
Mhm. And to the listener, if you enjoyed today's topic and you want to hear additional information, you can find access to exclusive content in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.